Namaskar and good afternoon. I think Sharath has set the tone. We've had a detailed discussion on digital public infrastructure and financial inclusion. This discussion, more so, I am fortunate that I have a set of subject matter experts who represent different stratas of the industry. And we'll try to moderate our thoughts and try to give you a kaleidoscopic view of the journey that Bharat has to travel to reach the target of Viksit Bharat. Times have changed. Sharath was kind enough, and Sharath, I'm taking the liberty time and again of pointing out it's been 10 years of DPI coming into existence. So some numbers, as always. We have around about 55.2 crore Jan Dhan accounts. These Jan Dhan accounts have around about 2.16 lakh crore in terms of monetary volume in them. The average amount of money in each account is around about 4,620 rupees. These are some numbers, but what it tells you is inclusion. What it gets to you is that this is how many people were reached out to. What the message you should take home is that we have moved from tier 1, tier 2, and we are focusing on tier 3, 4, and 5. Now, with this as a brief introduction, I will open it up to the panel members. There is a dilemma in our mind that there is a journey which is Bharat to Viksit Bharat. I would request you to, each one of you, starting with Timmana, to give your brief viewpoints on it, 20 seconds, and I'm sure the organizers have kept us on a timer.
Of the 10 years, that what we have, starting with Aadhaar, DigiLocker, we have enjoyed the support of the government from last 6 years. Around 2018-19, when we landed at DigiLocker, and we are discussing about how Fintech can engage with the government, said, no, it cannot be given to the private sector. We made a mock-up, we made a pitch, we met the minister and all the people there, and they've been very good in giving access. We've been one of the first requesters on DigiLocker, where we could access all the data, like basic Aadhaar and PAN was available, gas card was available, and the driving license was available. This is how we started, because we were working with a Gramina bank that time, and we were working with a lot of affordable housing companies, where people had hard time to bring a hard copy of any of the KYCs, basic KYCs. They didn't have too much of income proofs and all that. So I would say, we have been the best of the beneficiaries, and we have proliferated. And I'm part of the Fintech group of Karnataka government, and we kept telling everywhere we try to talk. Our video was put up on a DigiLocker website saying that the one Fintech has worked on how to deliver. And sir is speaking about financial inclusion. Financial inclusion is the first level. You are identified, your account is open, and the government is willing to give you a DBT, direct benefit transfer, through that account. But we said, what about the credit inclusion? It's a tougher one, because some enterprise, a bank or a private bank or a Gramina bank, is giving money out, qualifying the customer, be it a farmer, be it a consumer, or a small business. We have hugely focused about, we have touched about 1 million so far, 1.2 million in the last 5 years. Day in, day out, we do thousands of loans. And the amount of cost, I should talk about the cost, we have reduced is 95% to the borrower. And when we are noticing that, the banks are spending 1 to 3% or up to 5% on processing that paper, we have reduced that by, again, 95%. It is about 0.3, 0.5% is the cost. So I think huge benefit. India has gone to Bharat really, and we have touched every village, literate, illiterate, semi-literate, with paper, without paper, physical paper, no paper. We have touched all of that.
So, Abhishek, over to you.
Yeah, I think Bharat to Viksit Bharat is, for me, is like I've not visited the bank branch for more than 2 years now, right? So that's a very simple indicator for me that the overall digital journey of the India's financial inclusion has really gone ahead. The second piece is that whether you have to send 10 rupee, whether you have to send 1 lakh plus, whether you have to send 2 lakh plus, 24/7, right? And it has taken years of hard work by the regulator, by the government, and we have reached a point where the process is not a challenge, the innovation at scale is not a challenge, adoption is a challenge, awareness is a challenge, and that's what we need to continue double downing on. That's how I see the journey of Bharat to Viksit Bharat.
I think excellent point. So we must take note that from our point of view, we have gone beyond visiting branches. We have gone beyond interacting physically with the BFSI sector, but there is a tier 3, 4 and 5 where these journeys still take place. And that's what we are trying to tackle. So Smita ji, your brief viewpoints on this.
To me, Viksit Bharat or developed India in context of financial inclusion is ensuring for all citizens, irrespective of their background and the geography which they come from, all financial and banking products and services, because that is the way we will grow and prosper. And that's where we have to, enable digital enablement has to be done, data access has to be there for them, and customized products and services to ensure that their needs and requirements are met.
So Devika ji, over to you for the opening query. The journey from Bharat to Viksit Bharat, what are the challenges that you visualize?
Well, I think for me, Viksit Bharat in the context of financial inclusion and to ensure that no one is left behind, for me it's economic growth with equity and equal life chances. That is equality of opportunity to grow and flower. And to ensure that no one is left behind. All of us, each of us in this room, including the center and the state and the institutions who are the macro policy framers, are involved in this process. But it's more important to see that the implementing institutions pull together to ensure this. And real financial inclusion does not mean the opening of a Jan Dhan account or the operation of it once to withdraw whatever funds are in it. It means a laddered progression through savings, credit, remittances, insurance, pensions, and transactions. Because what you have to understand is that, like a bank or a fintech, you're not just achieving a government target. You are acquiring a customer, and you must make available to that customer all the services which you make available to your elite customers, and then only will we have financial inclusion and economic growth with opportunity. Because as the RBI governor is also stressing, the fintechs should now look at ULI, should try to support the smaller and micro enterprises, which will create employment, which in turn will generate growth, consumption, and then only we will be on the path to Viksit Bharat or reach Viksit Bharat. So that's my small take on it.
So I think I completely agree. The inclusion part of Jan Dhan accounts is not about retaining certain amount of cash that has been, or finances that have been received on account of direct benefit transfer, but acting as a medium of inclusion, acting as a medium of access to services. So Timmana and Smita ji, I'll come to you, and Smita ji, I'll in fact open it up to you now. There is a general perception that phygital models are a need of the hour. And there is a gap when it comes to the trust factor when it comes to these models. So your viewpoints on it, and after her I'll come to you, Timmana, for your points.
So I'll actually give you my views based on example and what we have done in HDFC Bank. To me, today the need of hour definitely is phygital model, because it brings in convenience of physical touch point with efficiency of digital solution. And mostly the phygital models which exist are assisted models. So it helps in deeper geography, bringing in customer engagement as well as trust factor, because there is a human being out there. Now in context of what we have actually done and seen the advantage or the impact is that HDFC Bank few years back partnered with Common Service Centers, which is a Government of India company under Ministry of Information and Technology. They were set up to provide government services to common man on a completely digital platform. What we did was integrate our banking product APIs with them to provide banking services to them as well. They have 5 lakh touch points, and there is a human being present there who works on digital platform. And I'm happy to share with you that unlike what was thought about working with agents, that you will open Jan Dhan account and do remittances, we do everything what a branch in our rural and semi-urban areas would give. We do open account, give fixed deposits, do business accounts, give all kinds of loans, retail as well as agri loan, wholesale loan, do remittances, and even have started opening broking accounts, because we saw after COVID there is a lot happening, and why should these geographies be left out for that? So I see for at least some time, as technology has penetrated and all of us are trying to leverage adoption of technology to build business models, this is going to be certainly way of financial inclusion in future. And certainly when you spoke about so many Jan-Dhan accounts, so we have done the first step of opening account, but unless we start giving all banking products and services, we will not achieve the right financial inclusion. And that's what we have done successfully, and hopefully will scale up much more in coming times.
So, Timmana, I'll just change the cue for you a little. Financial holdings are blocked in two major categories across the different geographies of the country. One is gold and second is land holdings. And with this as a base and the grassroots level investor now wanting to come on board for trading, your viewpoints on the same query, the phygital model.
Yeah, I'll pick up the land holding side of it. We have been working with Karnataka Gramina Bank from 2020. From 2022, we have been working with Union Bank of India, and the RBI stepped in with ULI. It was called PTPFC then and renamed as ULI. What we are doing physically, which we are doing physically with the Gramina Bank, became complete. The challenge is, can you do this in completely digital format with a illiterate farmer on an assisted self and a hybrid mode? What if the farmer thinks that I can do it and he drops off? Can you pick it up as on a mirror side and continue that? We tested all this. We touched about 1 lakh customers on the completely digital model. The Kisan credit card crop, KCC we call it, up to 2 lakhs, which is permitted as hypothecation only. We have achieved 3 to 5 minutes delivery of the loan into the account of the customer if there is already an account. If there is no account, then we tried video KYCs. It was not working because customer is not presenting himself because he's not washed, he's not dressed, and he's not in a good light area to come. So we use the biometric, as Madam said, CSC, the BC models. We use the biometric to go to the customer. You have to put your finger twice to go through. This is in a multilingual format. What data we are getting from Aadhaar is maybe in Telugu, and I'm getting the land record in a different language. I have to translate, transliterate, match it. Name matching, face matching is the toughest ones that we have handled. And the other one, gold, is an asset-based, and it's the lowest asset class. The poor, the families are investing, and they will just walk up to it. There's only KYC. I think up to 2.5 lakhs RBI has released that there's no credit parameter, right? So the Kisan credit card is one of the best, which touches about 60-70% of agri lending. More handled by small and marginal farmers because of the size. Public sector bank, Gramina banks, cooperatives, PACs are handling it. We have successfully tested it, and it is running at 5 states, expanding into next 10.
So I think we've got a fair view that there's a lot of traction that is taking place to get inclusion and inclusivity as part of our thought process in every strategy that the fintechs are implementing. So coming over to you, Abhishek, we talk about digital public infrastructure, and the first thought that comes to your mind, my apologies, I'm quoting my own organization, Aadhaar, UPI, account aggregator framework. So I'm not wanting to propagate, that's why I said my apologies. But there is an important element of the last mile connectivity in rural areas and those who are underserved. So how do you reach out to them?
You see, access and usage, right? So, and these two are the focus areas for almost a decade now, right? Ever since this 2013, this whole initiative started, the DBT started. Now, 95% of villages or 90% of villages do have an internet connection now, right? But the usage is still a challenge. Out of 900 million odd, I would say, internet subscribers, almost 400 billions are in rural, rest are in urban, right? So there is clearly a rural-urban divide for sure, right? Then recently there was a survey which was done by NFHS, which says that 40% of rural teenage, they can access an email, but only 30% of rural teenage, they can do internet banking. Now that is something for which the policymakers have to address. The next part is on the overall digital literacy, right? And when it comes to digital literacy, we know that small businesses, they still access informal source of credit. Yes, we have done a lot, whether it is fintech, banks, financial institutions, there are lending guidelines, but still there are small businesses who access informal credit, and they do have challenges when it comes to financial management. The next space is on the trust, right, and the privacy. Still today, the women in the foreclose, they stash their cash under the bed and pillow. Why is that so? And it's still the prevalence. The reason being there is some kind of fear, whether you call it lack of trust, it can be debated, but there is something which still stops them to avail the services from a nearby touch point. There are millions of touch points, but the women perhaps are not going there. Now, if I join all these challenges, and if I come to your point, what can DPI do to address this challenge of outreach in the rural? I think the solutions are already there. UPI Lite is there, UPI 123 is there, but a lot of people do not know about UPI Lite. That's a fact. Even I took some time to absorb the benefits of UPI Lite, and it's a wonderful wallet. If you really start using it, you will get addicted to it. The next piece is on the Aadhaar offline verification. I'm propagating your product only now. So a lot of use cases can be developed by Aadhaar offline verification. Account aggregator, it's a matchmaking platform. Data providers on one side, data users on one side. The more we scale account aggregator, now you have got the re-Christian ULI. I think DFS just had a meeting where they were trying to understand with all the fraternity, how can we scale ULI. The next piece is on, I think, the community institutions. They can be leveraged to promote financial awareness, whether it is your ASHA workers, whether it is your SHG banking network, which NABARD has been doing for almost donkey years now, but more needs to be done to empower them, that they spread the right message and information about the right products and services. I think if these pieces are done in a very cohesive manner, I think the DPI's products and services are already there. It's all about amplification of the existing guardrails, ensuring that the right risk mitigants are implanted, and we just keep on driving the awareness about DPI. So I don't think the wheel needs to be reinvented. It's all about adoption. It's all about ensuring that the low-cost bandwidth packets are there. Now the minimum cost of availing an internet pack is 199 rupees. You don't have any 20 rupees or 30 rupees packs, right? So how can you ensure that the devices, the agnostic solutions are being rolled out, right? Whether it's a feature phone based solution, not a smartphone based solution. I know there are counter arguments where people say that a smartphone is also now, one can easily afford at a little over 5,000 rupees. So I think all these pieces, if joined together, is where DPI will be in a much better, I would say, position to address this absence of access to outreach. That's how I see this whole piece evolving. Yeah.
So I guess Abhishek has spelled it out. There are dots that need to be connected, and the most important part is building awareness. So Dr. Deepali, I come back to you on this. This is with regards to fintechs creating products or solutions which are specifically focused towards gender inclusivity, which are focused towards the disabled, get them on board, give them a confidence factor, and also enhance the scope of awareness. Have we lost the connect with her? Okay, so we'll move on till the time she joins in again. Timmana, I'll come to you. There are certain innovations that, okay, wait, my apologies. Deepali, could you get my last query?
Hello?
Yeah, so I was giving a cue with regards to what Abhishek mentioned, that there is a requirement for awareness to take place. Now,
no, I'm getting a lot of crosstalk from people talking about lunch and picture not coming. So if they pipe down, I can hear better.
Murphy is visiting us.
Yeah, so would you like me to address the query of risk and innovation right away?
No, I'm specific to the query with regards to gender inclusiveness, with regards to awareness, and with regards to creating products which are oriented towards the disabled in terms of financial inclusion by fintechs. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but if you could ask those people to pipe down. I think there are people who are managing the consoles because they're saying ki picture nahi aa rahi, lunch ke liye gaye, I don't know, some lot. So tell me, would you like me to address that question now or later? Because in the flow, as you say.
Yeah, so I would repeat, if you can hear me now, I'm looking at your outlook or views on gender inclusivity
Yes, indeed.
awareness, and also with regards to creating products which are disabled friendly from the fintech
absolutely.
solution point of view.
Now if we are talking about, say, fintech products and why they should be sensitive and inclusive of people with disability and women. So gender sensitivity has been something we've all been talking about for a very long time. And the RBI has also given a special emphasis in all the government programs to women-headed households. It's the whole theory of feminization of credit, that if you give credit to a woman, she uses it for her children's school fees and so on. And I'm sorry to say to all the gentlemen here, that if you give it to a man, he's very likely going to have a good time with it and get drunk or some such. So yes, but to be gender sensitive to the needs of women, we must also design products around a much neglected facet of women, that is women's health. So there has to be that emphasis and that need. It's, you talked about people with disability. Now, you see, even in the design of the ATM, it's very difficult to go because there are all those stairs and it's not really disabled friendly. So even that is something which needs to be addressed. How do you approach? Then the second and important thing is that for people, you have to improve the payments acceptance infrastructure. And for that, there is a payment infrastructure development fund. So there's no dearth of money for this, but the payments acceptance infrastructure should be such that, for instance, right now, the traditional POS systems are not designed with even a braille interface. There should be a sort of accessible, compatible raised lettering, and POS systems can incorporate braille features. That is, they can have tactile keyboards and buttons and keyboards, braille labels on the keypads, braille refreshable displays, and braille compatible card readers. Now, when we were designing currency notes, we had to be sensitive, and after 2016, I have introduced, and I take credit for, the bleed lines on the notes, so that even a blind person can just, those slanted lines which you probably never noticed on your currency note, give the denomination of the note, and if you have only partial sight, you can still count those, and there are certain braille features on your currency note. So likewise, if you have these braille audio and tactile markings, and these POS devices can be, these devices can, like a card, a braille label on a keypad, can be connected to a POS system to provide a dynamic braille output of transaction info, allowing the user to read the information as it is displayed on the screen. Now, supposing you need audio feedback. So MasterCard has introduced notch designs on payment cards, which is quite a lot like the bleed lines on the currency notes. Now, these help users with visual impairment to distinguish between different card types simply by touch. And they streamlined the process of inserting the card into the POS terminal. When I visited Spain, on a G20 conference, I visited the CAXA branch, and I was very impressed that they have indeed designed a braille card, the fintechs there, which is used by the visually impaired. And it's not just the visually impaired, as I said, it's also those who have physical difficulty. It's not easy to go to the ATM, and you should ensure that instead of so many steps, at least something should be there which should support a wheelchair to go. So these auditory and tactile features will go a very long way, and that it will be a big help for those who have disabilities. And if we are not designing things for the people who are disabled in any way, then how are we promoting financial inclusion? So I leave you with this larger question and with some food for thought of how the fintechs are going to design new products and services, because essentially the products will remain the same: savings, deposit, overdraft, but the important thing is the payment acceptance infrastructure, which needs to be streamlined to assist people with disability. Otherwise, you will never have real financial inclusion, as divides will continue. And it's very, very important to look and assist these people who are children of a lesser God, or they're not children of a lesser God, I should say. So that's my take.
So I think from Dr. Deepali's viewpoint, I would now request everybody, just close your eyes, take your mind back to the last time you visited an ATM and try inserting that 3.5 mm jack in the ATM. If you can find that spot and insert your headphones.
Just one last thing. The RBI has mandated, for persons with disability, the RBI has specifically mandated to enhance ease of access to digital infrastructure for persons with disability, and payment system participants have been advised to review their payment systems and devices and carry out necessary modifications so that all such systems and devices can be easily accessed by persons with disability and low digital literacy. So this is a RBI mandate which is binding on all payment system operators.
I think I couldn't have agreed more. The RBI mandate orders it. The fintechs need to imbibe and incorporate it. That's what the next step is. And that's what our outlook has to be in terms of ticking those boxes when we are looking at it, that did we do it or no. So Timmana, coming back to you. There have been innovations in the credit scoring model that have taken place, and you have thin file customers. So what do you feel is the advantage that thin file customers now can reap based on the alternative models of credit rating or credit scoring?
As a banker, I'll give my view what I have watched last 10 years. It's a little negative. Yeah, for lending, digital lending that is happening for 5,000-10,000, I think our average ticket size on digital lending, which is like quick on the phone, you ask for money and they give you money, is about 10,000-12,000 is the size. We are operating on a very conventional banking model with a big balance sheet banks, which is like agri loans, affordable housing loans, auto loans, and MSME loans. Here the credit models are not changing. Actually, DPI is faster than the credit models that are changing. They're not changing. Even if they're saying, okay, give me the alternate data, they're using it against the borrower, not for the borrower. We are actually declining more number of cases knowing that he's got a bad vibes on the Facebook or any other social media than, picking up, okay, we can approve him. The approvals are coming down. So I'm just saying that the credit models have stayed where they were. Like as Madam was saying, if you have to lend to a blind person, the credit policy has to change. Underwriting rules have to change. Technology is very easy to adopt. Maybe he needs a person with him, who's the family member. How do you recognize the family member? Is there any, the joint names that we can think of? Is there an identity which are matching? Father name, surname, somewhere it's matching, right? So I'm just saying, whatever we have seen, I'm from a bank, so I'm just saying we're not able to cope up with the credit models, to consume all the technology which is out there, DPIs that are built, alternate data like crop data, like soil data, irrigation data. We've been doing Kisan credit card for a number of years for just on declaration. How many banks are ready to open up the cupboard, which is already, it's like 71 million, 7 crore people have already taken. Are you ready to face the reality? Where did he use the money? Does he have a crop on the land or not? That's why we have stayed where we are, and we're going to graduate towards that. It's a progressive in nature. They can clean up. They should not go to the past, but they should clean up going forward. I think that's how we should use alternate. Models are not coming faster than, like data is coming, digital technologies are coming, but models are not coming at all. There's not been much of change there.
So I think I tend to agree on that. If you've witnessed what the institutional setup the government is trying to do, you are building an awareness at the rural areas, running certain drives in terms of PM Janman, PVTG campaigns. The agri stack is being promoted, but when it comes to building these data points in terms of whether I have a Ayushman Bharat card, I have a Kisan credit card, and it is a viable option for me to be considered, whether my property is registered by the IGI department, there is a lot of work that still needs to be done. So Smita ji, I come to you. There is a lot of accolades that the public-private partnership always gets. So whether it is a build, operate, transfer model or it is any other model, there are always gaps that take place. What are your views on these gaps and how do we overcome them?
So I think partly Timmana also mentioned, see, public-private model to scale financial inclusion is the way future, because it gives you wider access, it is lower cost model, then innovation will happen for development, etc. But the challenges still remain, sustainable business model, regulatory framework needs to change, because still the agent banking, we think about a Jan-Dhan account and remittances, etc. How do we enable credit from the agent network? Data access, like he mentioned about, UPI Lite, how much awareness is there, how many products can be made. So we have to build products which are customized to these areas. And so these 4 things I would say: sustainable business model, data access, lending products, catering to that market, and regulatory framework. If these challenges are addressed, we know that in our country it takes time, but step by step, if things start moving, there is no way rural India, semi-urban India, we are seeing that growth is happening, and how people are leveraging technology to, do businesses, etc. So challenges remain, but public-private partnership is the way forward if we want to scale up and, get results much faster or impact much faster. I'm a firm believer, and this is why we partnered first with Common Service Center and then later with the private players, because the public and private sector both leveraging resources and their strengths actually gives you a much, much better impact.
So I think the warning light has come up, time's up, and before we call it a close for today, we will agree that the scalability is something which has been tested and proven. The system is robust. It's the intent part of how to take it back to those rural heartlands or geographies where we are yet to make inroads. So before we close it up, I will request each one of you, starting with Dr. Deepali, to give one takeaway point from today's discussion. Dr. Deepali, one takeaway point from today's discussion from your perspective.
Yeah, I agree with what you said, but on the point of balancing risk with innovation, particularly if you see so much of digital fraud happening, I would say that digital financial literacy is very important, and an effective grievance redress mechanism. Because if a customer loses trust in your grievance redress mechanism, you don't just lose a customer. He loses trust in the entire fintech system. So the fintechs, I would urge to be very responsible, have defined timelines to address complaints, and do a root cause analysis towards system strengthening, and that alone will good financial inclusion make, because it is the fintechs who have the ability to increase financial inclusion through virtual modes. We've tried with brick and mortar banks, but I still feel that there are huge gaps and there are huge possibilities for the fintechs to address. I would urge them to look at it so that we have growth with equity.
So Timmana, one key takeaway from your perspective.
Yeah, DPIs are like faster than the banks, and what we should be building is, we have been building 30-40 years, we have been building technology for the banks and the providers. We're not building for the user, consumer, or the borrower there. We should empower the borrower, enable the channels. There will be digital and a physical mode of delivery, assisted and self, on the mobile, on the desktop, whatever. And you have to embrace the multilingual. The form factor, we call it, as if somebody is given an application form, people take time to fill. If you can do the form factor, filling a form, like, languages, multilingual formats and all that, I think we will meet Bharat. Viksit Bharat is an outcome of all of this, and we are working towards it. And fintechs are very well engaged with the banks, innovator, everybody.
Abhishek, one key takeaway, and we'll close up with Smita ji, and then I'll formally close it.
I think my only message is that do not lose sight of the population scale approach, the Bharat focused mentality. But that is what has ensured that fintech has grown in India. India is known for fintech. And the second piece is that there's a disease called productocytosis. Do not bombard with 100 products within a span of 1 hour. There needs to be some adoption. There has to be some space. Have patience. Under the garb of innovation, do not bombard the nation with hundreds of products. Keep it restricted. What is needed. Yeah.
Smita ji, your closing thoughts.
Bharat to Viksit Bharat is the only way if we have to see our country developing, and the only way if we have to see employment being created and people grow in the ecosystem. Because rest all we have discussed about innovation, products, etc. But that's the only way, and we have to work on this.
So I guess you've got a fair idea of what the experts look at, how they visualize things. When I was traveling from Mumbai to Bangalore today, I thought, let me come up with a conclusion which has some specific takeaways, and we had each point from each, or 1 point each from each of our speakers. I couldn't put my finger to 2 or 3 key aspects that I would want each one of you to consider. And I will quote, based on what I could then come up with this: we must design with empathy, build with integrity, and scale up with purpose. This should be a base. If we want to look at a point at a target of 2047 being, India being a $35 trillion economy, we have to understand we are not in a 100-meter sprint. It's a relay race. The baton is with the policymakers, the institutional regulators, the fintech solution providers, the investors, and most importantly, the end users. So I think with this, our discussion comes to a closure. Any questions, they can be taken one-on-one after we wind up from here. Thank you so much to each one of you. Thank you, Dr. Deepali, for joining us virtually. And thank you so much for the organizers for bearing with us.
Thank you.